On the primary and secondary school level, Education Minister Ong Ye Kung said on Tuesday that only graduating students in primary 6 as well as secondary 4 and 5 will attend school daily.
The remaining cohorts will rotate between home-based learning and classes in school on a weekly basis. So let's bring in our education correspondent, Amelia Teng, to discuss this further. Amelia, but before schools closed last month, the data then showed that schools aren't hotspots for COVID-19. So why do you think MOE decided to implement this rotation versus having all students in school return at once?
Yeah, so I think MOE is trying to stagger the return of students by cohorts to be safer, to be more careful, so that we don't go from like near zero to having a sudden influx of all students back in school at one shot. Similar to how many other countries in the world are also doing it. The UK, for instance, they're also planning for schools to reopen gradually by ages in the same way. So it makes sense for MOE to be a bit more cautious in this manner, even though schools were not hotspots to begin with. It's also to give schools and teachers, the students, some time to adjust to all the safe distancing measures that they need to follow. So in a sense, even though school has reopened, will reopen, life is not exactly the same for all of them. They all have to wear like face shields or masks throughout the day. The recess, arrival, dismissal times will all be also staggered, and there'll be space, sittings in classrooms. So it's not really the same. It might take a while for people to adjust. So the things that everyone has to get used to for some time before all the students come back, perhaps in a few weeks after the weekly rotations.
Right. And what were parents' top concerns during the circuit breaker? And do you think they will be satisfied with the measures in place during phase 1?
I think we asked a lot of parents, especially those who are working parents, having to manage children's home-based learning, the curriculum, and fulfilling work commitments was one of the top challenges. And if we have more than one child, it can be even more demanding. So besides the technical difficulties of remote learning, a lot of them also said that home-based learning was not as effective as face-to-face learning. There's only so much you can convey through a screen, and nothing can replace classroom teaching. So the graduating cohorts at the P6, Sec 4 were most worried about falling behind and how it would affect this So I think most parents are actually very happy that school will reopen as long as precautions are in place and assured that the kids are safe in school so that they can have some time to work uninterrupted.
Right, Amelia, given the timeline of the 3 phases that were announced on Tuesday, what's the likelihood, you think, of schools being able to reopen fully for the end of year exams?
I think we're still waiting for more updates as to when schools can have all students back. Possibly, I think MOE said in a few weeks' time, weekly rotation start. But this will, of course, be in tandem with the easing of the circuit breaker measures, the safe distancing measures for the rest of Singapore. And we'll have to take the cue from the task force, which is handling COVID. But regardless, I think the end of year national exams will have to continue. Students will take it whether or not schools will be open by then, because these are necessary placement exams for the students' next phase of education. So it will go on regardless whether schools reopen.
Right. Amelia, let's shift our focus a bit to children in preschools. Now, Social and Family Development Minister Desmond Lee said they'll return in batches instead of all at once. Kindergarten 1 and 2 will resume on June 2nd, nursery and 1 and 2 on June 8th, then infant care and playgroup on June 10th. There are only a few days as opposed to a couple of weeks between each batch's return. What's the rationale there, you think?
I think similar to the rest of the mainstream schools is also to try and ease the transition back to preschool, give them some time and some space to adjust to the changes. But at the same time, I think for preschools, the period for the children to return to school cannot be too prolonged, because at this age, the kids are young and they need childcare support. And as Singapore exits the circuit breaker and we have more employees, workers going back to workplaces, those parents who are working might need to work on site go back to the offices or to pick up the pace of work a little bit more, even though they're at home. So having the childcare
Right.
support that's in place will be needed for many families. Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's up to each parent whether you want to send your child back to school, and this is just to to ensure that the support is available if you need it.
Well, good points there, Amelia. Thank you so much. We'll check in again, I'm sure, when schools reopen on June the 2nd. We were speaking with the Straits Times education correspondent, Amelia Teng.